Greetings everyone, welcome to Just Advance. This game was played in European Club Cup. This is from round 7 and a really epic game. You're really going to enjoy this one. With the black pieces here, we have Abhimanyu Puranik facing off against Or Bronstein. Difference between their rating is roughly 150 points. And now Abhimanyu has had a really great tournament. He's had 4 wins and 2 draws. Yesterday he came really close to a loss. I mean, it was really a heartbreaking game because he was winning, then he got into a really bad place, and then it was completely losing, but his opponent blundered at the very end and he was able to actually just sideline himself away from a draw. But now he is with the black pieces, so let's see what he's able to accomplish. Here just d4 was played and he goes for knight to f6. He goes for the Indian game, c4 e6. There's the East Indian defense, knight to c3 and bishop to b4. He transposes it into the nimzo, and here we have knight to f3, d5 now, and just bishop to g5. The rook goes in defense, h6 pushing the bishop back, but you normally trade here. Bishop captures, queen captures, and just e3 and just castles here. And here you could go for a move like queen to b3 immediately, and after c5 you play this d captures, a5 now, and after a3 you play this first d captures, queen captures, bishop captures, and after you trade just everything and develop the knight, and after this captures. The thing is that this position might turn out to be more draw than you think, so that's why here I'm not going for all of this. Just a calm rook to c1 in this position, and after d caps on c4 you play this bishop captures. But after c5 here just castle, c caps on d4, just knight to e4, and here just going for queen to e7. After a3 pushing the bishop back, bishop to a5, e caps on d4, and rook to d8 in this position, aligning the rook very nicely with the queen, and here just b4 pushing the bishop back, bishop to b6, and you could go for this knight to c3 in this position. I mean, just pushing the knight back and trying to remaneuver it to a better square. After knight to c6 you play d5, queen to f6, and not trading it, but first playing this queen to b3, putting in more pressure. But first comes knight to d4, and after knight captures, bishop captures, the game goes on. Most likely here d caps on e6 will be played, and the game will go on. After this bishop captures, and you can just trade everything in this position. I mean, it could turn out to be a draw, but still, I mean, if you want to go for a draw, you can just take it right away. But after bishop to b6 here, rook to c3 was played, but now just comes bishop to d7, rook to e1 now, and here just bishop to c6, just challenging that knight to g3, and here just queen to d6. And you could go for this move with knight to h5 in this position. It's a very, very nice move. And after bishop to c7, trying to go for the mate once the knight ever moves, but just g3, just nullifying the influence of this queen bishop battery. And here after this knight to d7, now you just go for bishop to b3, bishop to b6, and here after rook to d3, now you just go bishop to d5, asking for a trade. And after this knight to e5, you could go for this bishop captures, but first a very nice position, so queen to g4, just going for the checkmate. So you're gonna have to move, and once you go for g5, you don't want to go for g6 in this position, trying to think that maybe I can just maybe win some material, because he just knight caps on g6 and you can just resign afterwards. If you try to go king to h7 in this position, what will happen is just knight to e5. I'm still threatening mate, you don't have a g pawn, and basically what you can do is resign. This don't work, by the way, if you're thinking about this, because I have a very silent killer in this position, which is queen to f3. I mean, you can say goodbye to this position, because if you try to go for this knight caps on e5 and trying to just minimize the damage, he just captures, and yeah, this is not a good position to have. Queen to f8, and now hey, knight to f6 will come, and yeah, this is just over, really, really over. Whatever you do in this position, I can just capture here, but also first capture this piece, because now rook is not going anywhere. Even if you go for rook to g6, now just queen captures on b7, and I mean, that will be game here. I mean, this that knight is such an annoying piece, and even if you just sacrifice the exchange, still I'm going to be really, really winning. So all of this was definitely possible after g6, but the thing is that what you can do in this position is just play g5 and you can get away with it, but you're gonna have to really trying to figure out that g6 doesn't work. Only then you try to look for g5. But after queen to d6, here rook to d3 was played. Now just comes bishop caps on f3, queen captures, knight to c6 now, and here after this knight to h5, going for the same idea in a different order. Here just knight caps on d4. So you've given a central pawn for basically no compensation. So what do you have in this position? Queen to g4, trying to go for mate, but you don't have the other knight in this position. So what do you have in mind? Here queen to f8, now defending very nicely, and I mean, Abhimanyu is finding all the right moves. Queen to e4, and here we have king to h8, a calm move. You could have also gone for a move like rook a to c8 instead of a prophylactic move here. Rook to g3 will come definitely, but you have g6 in this position, and no, there is no sacrifice with rook here. But although you could go for this knight to f6 check, king to g7, you play queen to e5, and after knight to c6 attacking the queen, knight to h5 check, and after king to h7, knight to f6, you have to go to h8, and after queen to e2, the game goes on with black being like completely winning. But after queen to e4, hit king to h8 was played, not going for all of those things, although rook to c8 would have been much better, but still you have to calculate a lot with that. Here after rook e to d1, we have rook a to c8, and after this bishop to a2, now just going for this knight to f5, just asking for a lot of traits in this position, but here just going for this bishop to b1, just completely utilizing this diagonal. If the rook ever moves, I mean, the queen bishop battery could cause some problems, but here just rook caps on d3, bishop captures, and just g6 in this position, completely nullifying the influence of the battery, and here just queen to e5 check, knight to g7 blocking, knight to f6 was paid, and now just comes this rook to d8, knight to g4, h5, and here just knight to e3, just re-maneuvering that knight to a better square. But you could go for this very nice bishop to d4 in this position, and your position would be really nice, speaking from perspective of obviously black. But here after queen to f4, you go for this queen to e7, g3 comes, definitely you don't want that bishop to have too much power, and after knight to e8, bishop to c2, you go e5 attacking the queen, queen to f3, rook to d6 now, and after knight to d5, just attacking the queen, queen moves to d7, put some pressure on that, and after once you defend it, just king to g7, just slowly improving the position of all the pieces. And after this f5, you can also go for that. Yes, it weakens your g6 square a little bit, but you don't have any way to attack it, so maybe it will be fine. But after knight to e3, here rook to d7 was played, just a calm move, bishop to e2, still 10 more moves to reach time control, and both these players are playing on minutes here, just 5 minutes, and basically this is turned to a blitz game. Here rook caps on d1 was played, knight captures, and just queen to d8, just, putting some pressure on that knight if the bishop ever moves. Here just king to f1, here just king to g8 was played, queen to e4 now, and now just going for this queen to c7, g3, just almost nullifying the influence, not allowing that captures, and here just knight to f5. And now what do you play? Bishop to f3 was played, and seems like this position is going towards a draw, but with every move that white is not making accurately, if Abhimanyu with lower time on his clock, if he's able to find it, he could completely crush white. And here just going for this knight to d6, queen to d3, and now just going for e5, knight to c3, and immediately bishop to d4, just centralizing the piece. And here just knight to e2 was played, but just queen to b6, and the position has turned to a draw because here Abhimanyu was not able to find the right idea. Knight caps on d4 was played, now just e captures, but you have given me a pawn, so you need to be a little bit careful. And here bishop to d5 was played, now just comes this king to f8, king to g2, knight to f5, and here just queen to c4, just putting some pressure on that pawn. But the thing is that you can see the evaluation shifting. Here just knight to d6, attacking the queen, and also that the best move in this position was actually queen to d8. And I mean, just good luck finding that. It's going to be really difficult, and now they have reached time control, so they do have time on the clock, so Abhimanyu should have been able to find this, but still he didn't. Here just knight to d6 comes, and here queen to d3, now just going for king to g7, queen to d2, knight to b5 here in this position, and just queen to d3, knight to c7 now, bishop to e4, and just knight to b5 again, just repeating moves. Maybe here Abhimanyu maybe has had enough, he wants to maybe go for a draw, but here just bishop to d5 once again, knight to c3, and now just going for bishop to f3, a6, king to f1, knight to b5, and bishop to d5 again. And just when you thought that the moves were going to be repeated, here just knight captures on a3, not repeating it anymore, queen to f3 was played. And I mean, obviously you don't want to go and capture it, because if you capture it, then this just very decently hits against the bishop, and you would obviously lose that, and the resulting endgame would be losing. But here in this position, just queen to f3 was played, and just comes now this f6, because you won't have that weakness on the light square. After queen to e4, just queen to d6 in this position, bishop to b3, and just going for queen to d7. But you can see the bar shifting here, because the move that you want to play in this position is actually f4. But here in this position, bishop to d5 was played once again, maybe with the idea that Abhimanyu might just repeat the moves, but in this position he finds the right idea, he goes for knight to b5. And now what do you do here? Bishop to b3 was played, but now just comes knight to c3, attacking the queen, queen to d3, and even b5 now. And now it's looking a little bit favorable towards black, because you do have 2-to-1 advantage, you do have the central pass pawn. How are you going to defend in this position? A bishop to c2 was played, now just comes f5, and here even queen to d2, but just queen to d5. And now you can see that white is pushed towards the back foot, king to g1, queen to d6, queen to g5, and knight to e4 was played. But here just going for queen to c1, but now comes d3, and now this is turning into a resignable position. Bishop to b3, d2 even, and here queen to a1 check, but now just comes queen to f6. If you trade, you're just completely lost. Queen to a5, queen to h6 was played. Both of these players playing on minutes now. Here just queen to c7, queen to a1 check, king to g2, and d1 queen. Now there are two queens on the board, you have to sack the bishop. Bishop captures, queen captures, and queen to e5 was played, maybe hoping for a perpetual, but here just queen to d8 was played, and it was on this move, on move 6, that Or Bronstein resigned the game, and Abhimanyu got this spectacular victory in less than 70 moves. So really kudos to him. Really a grind here to be able to find all the right ideas. And definitely a queen's endgame is never easy. Queen bishop and a queen's again knight, winning it really really nice. Few in a lifetime games that happen, but still really a great gameplay by Abhimanyu. He definitely deserved this victory. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with some of these amazing games. So stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you very much for watching.